As is normal within our committee cycles, we steadily build up the budget as the autumn moves to winter, and that is certainly what has happened here. We keep monitoring the revenue budget and also our capital programme. We follow a set finance strategy and of course arrive at a position then where we're able to recommend to the council a council tax either increase or, as we've done for most of the last decade, no change. The cutting to that final point first, the recommendation is that we do increase council tax by £5 for a year for a Band D property, always bearing in mind of course that the average property in the borough is a Band C, so this is an increase in council tax of £1 a day for our average council tax property and council tax bill. So I'm sure that it will still compare extremely favourably with all other district council taxes in the country, and I'm sure we will still end up being in the bottom 2 or 3 of district level council taxes, and of course continuing to provide very, very good services within that small budget, which for the average household is £10 a month. The revenue budget and progress there shows where we are and where we're proceeding in terms of a number of specific services and variations within that budget as well from those services. The capital programme also sets out where we are in terms of specific projects which we've been doing. Of course, we've had a very significant capital programme for a number of years now, and in fact next year's capital programme got quite a significant total within there as well in terms of what we're looking to do. Fees and charges is fairly straightforward. It's always worth bearing in mind that fees and charges, a significant number of them are actually set by statute, and therefore we don't have the ability to increase them. I know some members would like to increase the litter fouling and dog fouling and public space protection order notices. They would like to see much bigger fines there, but those fines are set by statute and therefore we can't increase them. And there are a number which sit within that, but where we can increase, we normally look for around a 5% increase in fees and charges. One element in there which I'll draw particular attention to is car parking, because that's something which we do get from a small number of people, but comments all the same that say, oh yes, of course, Fairham's car parking is much more expensive than anybody else's in South Hampshire, and it's all a big turn-off for people coming into the town. So perhaps worth bearing in mind a few facts. One is, if we agree this evening to freeze car parking charges again, we will have frozen them for 8 consecutive years, which is very, very significant, particularly if you consider what inflation has been over that time, which of course represents therefore a very significant real terms reduction. Of course, we always consider as well, should we charge for car parking in other parts of the borough? Our philosophy has always been we will charge in the town centre, we will not charge in Parkgate, Stubbington, Porchester or any other car park area in the borough, or indeed on our seafront car parks. And our policy is to continue to do exactly that, because we believe it's important to the vibrancy of our local centres that we don't charge for car parking. But what I did want to do particularly was have a little look at how we compare with these other councils that supposedly we don't compare very well with. So if you look at the car parks, and just to remind members, of course we have the inner car parks, which are the ones which we generally like to see for shoppers, and also the outer car parks, which are used more by commuters. And when you look at the hourly rate for those, you see that for the inner car parks, the charges are higher than Fareham, in Havant, Chichester, Eastleigh, Winchester, Portsmouth and Southampton, i.e. everywhere except Gosport. The parking charges are significantly higher than in Fareham. And when you look at the outer car parks, you see that Fareham is less expensive than everywhere except Havant. And in fact, even Gosport charge more for car parking in those commuter car parks than we do. People can stay in the commuter car parks in Fareham for £3.50 a day. Or of course they can get a season ticket and pay significantly less again. So that's the story on car parking, in case anybody does try and suggest things are not as we've been able to show. And otherwise, everything is as per the recommendation, so it's dealing with the capital programme over the next 5 years. There's is it £65.5 million capital programme. Fees and charges, as set out in the appendix, would be approved. The revised general fund budget, this drops of course year on year, is approved, and the base general fund budget for 17-18 approved, and the use of the surplus on the spending reserve as set out in the report is approved also. So that's the background. Of course, what we do this evening is to make a recommendation to the Council ready for our budget setting meeting at the end of February and the debate that we have on that. So hopefully that's useful as background. I'm going to invite Councillor Cunningham to speak.
Mr. Chairman, just one clarification actually. Page 101 is a new football tournament fee, £300. The clarification I'm sort of looking for is, would this actually come into play for AFC Portishead when they use their summer tournaments for the youngsters during the summer holidays? I'd just like to clarify that.
Thank you for that one. Would the executive member know the answer to that? Or indeed Mr. Dora?
Chairman, yes, I believe that we don't currently charge at all for football tournaments, but tournaments that have a certain number of teams coming to, there will be a charge for it. That's all the information I have, but I'm happy to provide further clarification if required.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just looking at the mentions a reference here to do with that, doesn't it? Page 1. I'm just looking for to see what that has to say about it, and I'm not actually seeing anything.
The notes are at the bottom of the page then.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to explain where, Mr. John? Which page we're actually talking about?
101.
Yeah, I know we're talking about page 101, but then it's saying
Note 1 is at the bottom.
Note 1's at the bottom of the page there.
fee inclusive VAT at the prevailing rate unless exemption conditions as set out on page 1 are met. What are those exemptions?
I'm not sure, Chairman, what the exemptions are.
Okay, well, perhaps we can find out then. I'm looking at page 77. I don't know if that's supposed to be page 1 of this particular report. But no, that probably is it actually. That's the exemption from VAT that we're talking about. Okay, so we are, by the look of it, then able to exempt these tournaments and all the other from VAT for these clubs. Okay, all right, that's useful. Right, anybody else want to speak on this report? Councillor Carton.
Just really very quickly, I sort of welcome this report. I certainly welcome the reviews on car parking, and I think it's very helpful to see what other areas do as well, which there's been certain sort of comments about car parking charges, etc. So I find it very useful. I think, going back to the paper itself, I think it shows that we're running things well. I'm very happy with the recommendations.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Manning.
Thank you, Chairman. Page 69, paragraph 41. I just would like to say, well, please, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but certainly that we're increasing our surplus of £10,000 on the Porchester crematorium contribution, because I know several years ago when we had the Oaks and the one in Southampton, then we actually did sort of lose some of the, what's the word, should I say? Yes, throughput, thank you.
Yes, certainly we did think that, particularly with the Oaks in Havant as one of our partner authorities in the crematorium, that might have a significant effect. But understand that Portchester Crematorium is still very busy.
Just a comment there, Mr. Chairman, as a member of that committee, the throughput is down. We were running as the busiest crematorium in the country. I think we're now the third busiest in the country. But it still does enable a contribution to be made. Efficiencies have been made as well.
Okay, anyone else on this report? No, the recommendations agreed. Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the meeting.